Welcome back to Football Daily, where we're looking at 10 players who are stars in the Bundesliga but couldn't quite make the grade in the Premier League. Let's get into it. 10. Shinji Kagawa. We start with Shinji Kagawa, who narrowly edges out Bundesliga legend Bastian Schweinsteiger. Schweini was already in his 30s when he made the switch to Manchester United, but Kagawa was just 23 and signed with the expectation he could become an integral player for years to come. Costing £15 million from Borussia Dortmund ahead of Sir Alex Ferguson's final campaign in charge, there's no doubt that the Japanese international showed glimpses of his talent, including becoming the first Asian player to score a Premier League hat-trick. But in 2 years in England, the former Cerezo Osaka youngster made just 31 starts, contributing 12 goals in 2,500 minutes of action. His underlying numbers suffered in the Premier League as his shots fell from 2 to 1.1, key passes from 1.8 to 1 and dribbles from 2 to just 0.4 per 90. Utilised less under David Moyes, being told he wouldn't be in Louis van Gaal's plans at the club, Kagawa sought out a move and eventually returned to Dortmund for half the price in 2014, leaving United fans to wonder what could have been. 9. Naby Keita. It may be too much to call Naby Keita a flop, but he certainly hasn't lived up to expectations since Liverpool signed him for £54 million from RB Leipzig back in 2018. In fact, Jurgen Klopp was so eager to sign the Guinean, the Reds completed the deal a year earlier in 2017, paying a premium to secure his services ahead of his release clause activating the following summer. But in 2.5 years on Merseyside, the 26-year-old has spent the equivalent of 9 months in the treatment room, missing 54 games in the process. Looking at just the current campaign, Keita has made just 7 Premier League starts, racking up little over 500 minutes of action, less than 20% of the game time to date. Whilst his talent is obvious with his progressive passing and strength in one-on-one situations arguably amongst the best in Europe, Keita has completed just 11 full matches in all competitions for Liverpool, costing the club £1.1 million per start under Klopp. As good a player as he is, it seems to be just a matter of time before Liverpool decide to pass his injury troubles onto someone else. 8. Henrikh Mkhitaryan. Following the same path as former Dortmund teammate Kagawa, Henrik Mkhitaryan made his move from the Westfalenstadion to Old Trafford in the summer of 2016. The 10-time Armenian Footballer of the Year was coming off a season in which he'd scored 11 and set up 15 for BVB, earning himself a £30 million move to play for Jose Mourinho in the Premier League. But it was a slow start to English life for the then 27-year-old, being left out of the matchday squad regularly for the first few months around, and in 18 months with Manchester United started just 26 matches, contributing 11 goals before that infamous swap deal with Arsenal for Alexis Sanchez in January 2018. His numbers did recover slightly, with his year and a half in North London producing 8 goals and 8 assists in just under 2,500 minutes of football, but by this point the Armenian was nothing more than an expensive squad player. Mkhitaryan is now enjoying something of a resurgence at Roma, having contributed 31 goals in 47 matches since leaving Arsenal first on loan in 2019, with the move becoming permanent a year later. 7. Max Meyer. When Crystal Palace signed Max Meyer on a free in 2018, it seemed like something of a coup. After all, the Schalke Academy graduate was just 22 years old and had already made 192 appearances for the Königsblauen, with his 45 goal contributions coming at a rate of 1 every 3 matches the German youngster completed. Joining an Eagles side that had just finished 15th, scoring not much more than 1 league goal a game, Meyer was expected to come in and revolutionise the way in which the South London side attacked, all the whilst being on a reported £170,000 a week, 60k more than the talisman Wilfried Zaha. But the last of his 4 goal contributions in a Palace shirt came in January 2019, with Meyer failing to hold down a regular starting spot at Selhurst Park. In the 1920 campaign, he only featured for 652 league minutes, making just 6 starts, and this season didn't play at all before being relegated to the under-23s. Meyer's contract was terminated in January this year, having picked up over £20 million in wages. The 25-year-old is now a Cologne player, having signed a short-term deal to return to the Bundesliga. 6. Timo Werner. Back in September, and Chelsea were seen as the team that had won the transfer window, spending £220 million, including the signing of 2 Bundesliga stars, £71 million on Leverkusen's Kai Havertz and £47.5 million on Timo Werner from RB Leipzig. Both have experienced difficult starts to their Premier League careers, but it is Werner who's attracting most of the critics. And it's easy to see why. Having scored 95 goals in 4 years for Leipzig, including 34 last campaign, the attacker was expected to immediately become one of England's deadliest strikers. He did have a spell of 4 goals in 4 matches in October, but since then, the 25-year-old has just 1 goal in almost 1,500 league minutes. And it's not like Werner isn't getting chances, with only Mason Mount playing more minutes. However, his 2.1 shots, 0.9 key passes and 0.9 dribbles are all around half the rate they were last season. However, with 10 goals and 8 assists in all competitions, no Chelsea player has contributed to more goals as Thomas Tuchel's side battle for a Champions League spot. There's still time for Werner to turn the situation around, but the clock is definitely ticking. 5. Loris Karius. Liverpool signing Loris Karius in the summer of 2016 appeared to be a very smart move. The 22-year-old was just coming off a season in which he was voted the Bundesliga's second best keeper in his 3rd season as Mainz #1, keeping 9 clean sheets and saving 2 penalties. Worth the £5 million Liverpool paid for him, you'd think, but it was quickly clear that Karius was error-prone, although Jurgen Klopp would put this down to his tender age. His most notable mistake came against Bournemouth, where his spillage of a tame shot saw the Cherries bag a 95th minute winner in a 4-3 victory. Of course though, his most notorious moment will always be that 2018 Champions League final. At fault for 2 goals, first throwing the ball directly to Benzema for the Frenchman to score before mishandling a long-range effort from Gareth Bale, Klopp once again made goalkeeper a priority decision. Alisson was signed for £67 million, relegating Karius to the bench. He'd moved to Besiktas on loan for 2 seasons and is currently number 2 at Union Berlin, back in the Bundesliga, with his contract at Liverpool due to expire next summer. 4. Sebastian Haller. West Ham signed Sebastian Haller from Eintracht Frankfurt in 2019 for a club record £45 million. A big fee, but it did seem justifiable at the time. The French-born striker was part of a side that had just finished 7th in the Bundesliga, playing exciting football under Adi Hütter, and Haller himself had contributed 24 goals across the campaign. He got off to a dream start at the London Stadium, scoring 3 of West Ham's first 5 goals that season. However, the Côte d'Ivoire international would score just 4 more all campaign, and as David Moyes replaced Manuel Pellegrini, would find himself more often than not on the bench. Whilst Haller would get regular game time due to Michail Antonio's injuries at the beginning of the 2021 season, he would only net 3 more ahead of Christmas. West Ham weren't looking to sell, but couldn't turn down Ajax's offer of £20 million before his value depreciated any further. There must have been something about the Premier League that didn't suit Haller, as since moving to the Eredivisie, he's contributed a goal every 85 minutes, almost 4 times as often compared to his spell in East London. 3. Andriy Voronin. For 2 years, Andriy Voronin played alongside Dimitar Berbatov at Bayer Leverkusen, scoring 17 goals in his debut season, and when his contract was coming to an end in 2007, the Ukrainian international was considered one of Europe's best free agents. He signed for Liverpool and at 27 years old was expected to be performing at his peak. But that wasn't the case, as the former Mainz and Cologne striker would net just 6 goals in all competitions for Rafael Benitez's side. 6 players scored more for the Reds that season, with strike partner Fernando Torres netting 33 and Steven Gerrard scoring 21. Falling out of favour under Rafa, he was sent back to the Bundesliga, joining Hertha Berlin on loan. After netting 11 goals to help the German side qualify for the Europa League, Voronin returned to Anfield, but his Premier League career would last just 8 more games before joining Dinamo Moscow in January 2010. An outspoken critic of the city of Liverpool, having previously mentioned its high crime rate and inability to understand the Scouse accent, especially Gerrard and Jamie Carragher's, it was probably best Voronin made the choice to leave before he was chased out of Merseyside. 2. Baba Rahman. In the Roman Abramovich era, Chelsea have often had more money than sense, and one of the most striking examples of this is the signing of Baba Rahman in 2015. The left-back cost Jose Mourinho a remarkable £23 million after playing just a single season in the Bundesliga for Augsburg, putting up 6 tackles and interceptions a game as they finished 5th, their highest ever league finish. Nothing more than a bit-part player in his debut campaign, Rahman failed to impress Antonio Conte ahead of the 2016-17 season and was sent on loan to Schalke, where he'd spend 24 of the next 30 months, making just 26 appearances and barely making an impression. Further loan spells would follow at Reims, Mallorca and PAOK, joining the Greek side in January of this year. Remarkably, Rahman is still only 26 years old and still a Chelsea player, despite never making an appearance at Stamford Bridge since his first Premier League season. In fact, Rahman's 32 caps for Ghana mean he's appeared more for the Black Stars than he had for any top-flight side he's been contracted to. Wherever his future lies, it is definitely not in West London. 1. Joelinton. Entering 2019, Joelinton was seen as one of the next big Bundesliga exports, contributing 20 goals in 35 games for Hoffenheim. Newcastle United put up £39.6 million for the Brazilian, believing he could help spearhead a side desperately in need of some new firepower. His first goal came in his third league appearance for Steve Bruce's Magpies. However, despite starting all but 2 of his side's next 25 matches, Joelinton would fail to find the net again for another 302 days and 2,142 minutes. His debut season saw him notch just those 2 goals alongside 2 assists, despite featuring in every single game. And this current campaign has gone, well, exactly the same, with Joelinton having matched his 2019-20 record at the time of writing. He did, however, record his first match with multiple goal involvements in a 2-0 victory over Crystal Palace, whilst his first brace came in a 7-0 triumph over Morecambe. In fairness to Joelinton, his goal-scoring record is as much an indictment of Brucey Ball, with only 5 players scoring more than his 4 on Tyneside since his arrival. But at almost £10 million per Premier League strike, Joelinton's output remains a bitter pill to swallow. So there were our 10 stars of the Bundesliga that have flopped in the Premier League. What do you think? Is it unfair to include Timo Werner in this list? Should someone like Marco Marin have featured? Let us know in the comments below. As always, make sure you're liked and subscribed to the channel, and we'll see you next time.